something we hope you'll really like.
We're going to cover a lot of ground today, and we're going to do it very, very quickly. So if you want to make notes, please feel free. And there's a couple of processes that I want you to go through, and we're going to ask you to write down certain things. So please be ready for that. In today's presentation, this session, we're going to cover the following essential steps to the process of manifestation. And we're calling it instant manifestation, and I'll come back to that in a bit. But the process of manifestation follows some fairly regular, proven, and validated steps, and we're going to cover them very, very quickly. We're also going to cover how a simple change of thought can allow you to become a money magnet. And of course, everybody wants that. Even the people who are supposedly living a non-materialistic life need a certain amount of cash flow, and we're going to cover how to become a money magnet so you have all the cash flow that you need to cover your basic needs and or desires. We're also going to talk very quickly about programming your mind and your behavior to create success in real time, not in fantasy, but in real time. And then we're going to talk a little bit about eliminating limiting beliefs, and we're going to introduce you to a simple 5-minute exercise that will empower you to do that. And we're going to talk about why what you already know is your biggest liability, and why what you don't know yet and may actually never know is your best asset. And we're also going to talk about what to do right now, starting today, that will produce real-life results starting immediately. All right. Before we get started on this process, I want to say a couple of things about what we're calling here instant manifestation. Now, a lot of people are always, that I've been dealing with in the process of my life, I've been teaching people about empowerment principles and metaphysical principles and wealth creation, are always interested in learning how to make things come true for themselves. If they set an ideal, how do they make that ideal come true in their life? And that is the process of manifestation. You set an ideal, and then you work at having it show up in your life. And so the key understanding that we need to come to when we're dealing with manifestation is that we are always, in every moment, every single moment of our lives, always manifesting instantly our current reality. Everything that you have in your life right now is being manifested in this moment. So you already are masters of instant manifestation. The thoughts that you held, the beliefs that you held and hold, the feelings that you express, the ideals that you hold on to, the intentions that you bring towards everything that you are and do in life result in what you have in your reality picture. And that's instant manifestation. You can at any time change that. A few days ago on Wednesday, we were having our question and answer period, and somebody asked a question about, can you use the process of lucid dreaming to influence how things turn out in real life, in day-to-day real life? And the answer is absolutely. It was a brilliant question, and here's the answer I'd like to give to that. And for those of you who don't know, lucid dreaming is the process of becoming conscious while you're sleeping of the fact that you're dreaming, and taking it one step further, because you are aware of the fact that you are dreaming and are interacting with that dream, you can actually influence how that dream turns out. You can even go back and replay things and have them turn out a different way if you want to. So lucid dreaming is a pretty good skill to grab onto, and it was Robert Monroe, who sadly is no longer with us, that in his explorations of inner space first really defined lucid dreaming and the process of going about how to do it. Okay, so in lucid dreaming, you become aware of the fact that you're dreaming. You're still dreaming, but you're aware and conscious of being in a dream. And then you learn to influence how that dream turns out. Well, the great understanding about that is, if you can really grasp this in down deep where it counts, is that your waking life, what you call reality, so your normal day-to-day walking around waking life, is also a dream. Right? All the metaphysical teachers, and even our modern scientists, especially the physicists, will tell you that everything is an illusion. It is a dream that we construct in our consciousness. So bringing that same ability that you have in lucid dreaming into the recognition that your waking world is also a lucid dream, you can influence directly, simply by decision, simply by free will, how that dream called reality turns out. Now, because we are creatures of habit and we tend to believe that things will progress as they have progressed, we resist our ability to consciously and instantly manifest change in our life, but it is entirely possible to do so. So let's move into the first step in this process, how a simple change of thought will allow you to become a money magnet. And just before we do that, I'm going to show you kind of a neat little picture here. When I talk to people, often I talk to people about, they say, I want to be wealthy. I say, well, what does wealthy mean to you? And for those who are focused on money, they usually say, I want to become a millionaire. Now, they really don't have any conception of what it is to be a millionaire or how much money $1 million is. So I wanted to show you this picture, which is a picture of $100 bills, okay, stacked up to become $1 million. And this is what it looks like, this slide right here. And the actual worth of this pile of paper and ink is less than $100. That includes the cost of the paper, the cost of the ink, and the cost of amortizing the printing, the plates, the factory, the employees, and everything else, the distribution into the bank machines where you pull out your cash. The whole cost of that $1 million is less than $100. Think about that. All right? So it's really just a fantasy, just an illusion, just an agreed upon method of exchange, an agreed upon method of assigning value to something. That $1 million that you're looking at right now on that slide is worth less than 100, but we all believe it to be worth $1 million. The potential worth, however, of that $1 million is really whatever you can imagine it to be. I mean, if you're altruistic, if you can imagine what $1 million would do, taken into a very poor country and distributed amongst the people who are desperate for food, clothing, and shelter, you can imagine the value in that. You can imagine the value it would be to have in your own life. If you had $1 million sitting in a bank account collecting 10% interest, you could live very well on the residual income of $10,000 a month or so for the rest of your life. So, there's an extreme amount of potential value in some simple pieces of paper with ink on them. The president and pictures of Benjamin Franklin. Now, because the value in the money is only potential value and is not realized until it is expended on something, I mean, it's of no value to at all if it's hidden in your mattress or parked in your closet, that beautiful pile that you see in front of you. If that was in your closet, sitting there collecting dust, it would be of no value to you at all. None. Not even the $100 of paper and ink. So the potential value is only in how it is utilized. And that is the same with knowledge. Knowledge by itself is only a dust collector. Right? All the great libraries in the world sitting there, the Library of Congress, all the information on the internet, all that information, all that knowledge by itself is of no value unless it is put to practical use. And I keep affirming that to everybody all the time. It's like, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how educated you are, I don't care how well you know the principles of self-help and wealth creation, unless you actually make the application, they are useless. So please understand that collecting the knowledge and taking it in, memorizing all of the things that you can learn in conferences like this or by reading great books or whatever, is of no value to you unless you're prepared to apply it directly to your life in the day-to-day way that you go about living your life. Now, on to the next slide, which is about a simple change of thought that will allow you to become a money magnet. This is what we need to understand. Money is energy, and as such, it has no limits. Energy moves freely, goes towards that which is most alike it. Right? Like all energies, it harmonizes with like energies. So in order to be a money magnet, to be attracted to money, you need to learn to vibrate in harmony with the energy that is money, and then you will naturally become a money magnet because you will start attracting it into your life. So you need to stop thinking about money or of money as being anything except energy. Don't think of it as being security. Don't think of it as being wealth. Don't think of it as being freedom or any of the things that people traditionally associate with money. Start thinking of money as purely being energy, and understand that you can learn how to vibrate in harmony with that energy. Right? Start by doing little things. For example, in order to increase your belief levels that you are a money magnet, start imagining that every single day money is going to start coming into you, one way or another. And please don't define it, because that's a huge mistake. That cash will start coming into your life. Real, spendable currency will start coming into your life one way or another, which you refuse to define. Right? And you will find simple little things. You'll be walking down the street, and there's a dime lying on the street. Okay? That's just a little bit of proof. And the universe will supply you little bits of proof until your belief levels expand, and then the bigger levels of proof will start showing up in your life. I mean, seriously big levels of proof. And one day you'll be walking down the street, and somebody will come along and make it possible for you to manifest $1 million. That same pile of money we were just looking at. Okay, so here's the one little trick, the inside secret about knowing how to change one thing in your mind in order to start becoming a master of instant manifestation, and it is this. Learn how to become grateful in advance for having something. So when you set up an ideal, become grateful for already having it. Right? Now your mind is going to resist this process, and it's going to supply you with all kinds of excuses as to why you can't be grateful yet because it hasn't shown up in your life. But the trick is to actually be grateful in advance for already having something, that which you are holding as an ideal. Okay? And you can start that process simply by being grateful for being able to create the ideal, hold the ideal, attach your passionate desire to have the ideal show up, and being able to do things that will help that ideal to become manifest. So you're grateful for your abilities, you're grateful for your mind that it can conceive of this ideal, and then slowly but surely you'll be able to convince yourself to become grateful for already having that which you hold as an ideal. And as soon as you can do that, you have played this monstrous great trick on your subconscious, and your subconscious becomes a firm believer in the fact that you already have that, and it gets confused by the fact that it is not yet in your life, and as a consequence it does everything in its power to make that come true for you. Okay? And it will happen very quickly as soon as you learn that simple trick of being grateful for already having that which you idealize and desire to have show up in your life. Okay? So always, 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 in this present moment, be grateful for already having your ideals. Don't ever make the mistake of saying, tomorrow it's going to happen, or next month it's going to happen, or next year, or when I do a certain number of things, this is going to show up in my life, and I will then be grateful for having it. The trick is to be grateful now, in this moment, for already having that which you hold as an ideal. And then magically you will become attractive. You will become magnetic. You will become the great attractor that pulls stuff towards you to make your ideals come true. The people, the resources, the finances, the tools and technology, whatever it is that you need to have that show up in your life will start to show up, and very, very quickly. And the great thing is that because as things grow in mass and energy, they become even more attractive. Right? The gravity, for example, of the sun is a lot bigger than the gravity of a simple asteroid because it has more mass. It's putting out more attractiveness. It is more magnetic, and as a consequence, more things get attracted to it. Comets from millions and millions of miles away swing around in orbit around the sun because of the great attractiveness, the great gravity pull of the sun. And the more mass you build up, the more things that become attracted to you, the more things will continue to be attracted to it. It's a growing process. The more attractive you become, the more attractive you become. Learn to be grateful in advance, and you will become a lot more attractive. All right. So let's move on, because we're moving very quickly and covering some major points here, but we'll move on quickly to the next slide, which says gratitude is the magic key, right? You start the process with intention. You create the vision. It's what I call envisioneering. You attach that profound desire, that incredible passion to have that be a part of your life. You become what you need to become in order to have what you want to have, right? Be, do, have. So you become in order to be able to accomplish, in order to be able to have. And then you form plans and you work at enacting those plans. But here's the mistake most people make when they're making plans. They make plans that something will show up in a certain way, and then they go about doing the things that are necessary for those plans to become a reality. But they lock out the possibility that the ideal is going to show up in a way that you had not planned. Right? And generally speaking, this is what happens. While you're doing what you're doing in order to have, while you're doing what you're doing that you believe is necessary for something to show up, it shows up from another direction. And that's generally what happens. So you allow for infinite potentiality to provide the mechanism whereby your ideals are made manifest. That does not mean that you do not need to do things. That is absolutely wrong. People say, okay, you sit in a cave and you know, if you're really good at instant manifestation, all you have to do is idealize, attach the passion, the desire, and hold the vision firm, and it'll show up. The world will come marching to your cave and it'll show up. That is absolutely wrong. You actually do need to do stuff, but what you need to do is be unattached to the method that's showing up. Your doing this, in other words, is simply the proof of your commitment to your ideal. And the universe responds to your commitment by supplying your ideal, not necessarily in response to your actions. And that's the key understanding. You still need to do the doing, but the doing may not produce the results. The results will show up one way or another, maybe, and only maybe, as a result of your doing. But if you do not do the doing, the universe does not believe that you are committed to your ideal, so you still have to do the doing. And that's the little mental trick that you need to enact there. So gratitude is the magic key. Then you go through the process, right, of forming your intentions, envisioneering your ideals, attaching your passionate, profound desire to have them become manifest, become all that you need to be in every way that you can, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, become all that you are capable of becoming, and constantly work towards becoming more in order for you to have the ability to perform at maximum potential, and then make plans and start on enacting those plans and expect that your ideal will show up in your life. And above all, and I'm going to reinforce this again and again throughout this seminar, above all, be grateful for already having that which you hold as an ideal. We're going to get into something of a little bit more depth here. That picture that you see in front of you right now is of an iceberg, and it's an incredible picture. I mean, I love those pictures where the camera's half underwater and half above the water like this, where you can see the top of the iceberg up in the sky, and you can see the whole bottom of the iceberg down in the water. You as an individual have infinite potential. Right? That's an enormous understanding. Infinite potential. Right? Not limited by anything, including yourself. Now, normally speaking, we set limits on what our potential is, and limits on what our accomplishments are, and limits on the self-designed description of who we are and what we're capable of. But the reality is that we have infinite potential, each of us. And the other secondary reality that is really critical to understanding and getting your head wrapped around is that the universe, what I like to call universe, the way it's spelled on the screen here, the universe desires your success. In fact, it desires your success more than you do. Much more than you do. And you don't have to call it universe if you don't want to. You can call it by whatever name makes you feel comfortable, whether it's a universal consciousness or infinite intelligence or God or whatever you want to call it. That ultimate creative responsibility for everything that exists is desiring your success more than you do. All right? In order to understand that, you need to spend some time each and every day focusing on your connection to the infinite. And I'm going to use this iceberg picture that you have in front of you to explain how you are connected to the infinite. If you will follow me on this, please, that piece of the iceberg that is sticking out of the water and is visible to every boat that's sailing by and every bird that's flying by, every airplane in the sky that goes close enough and the people can look out the windows, you see the top of that iceberg. That represents your conscious mind, that normal, everyday waking awareness, right, that you use to describe your reality. The part of the iceberg that is under the water is your subconscious or superconscious or supraconscious or higher self consciousness, whatever name, again, you want to describe to that part of you, that part of your consciousness that you are not normally aware of. That larger part of the iceberg represents that. And you can see that typically in these explanations that 90% of the iceberg is below the water, 10% is above. And that is about the same as your conscious and subconscious mind. But here's the bigger reality picture. The bottom part of that iceberg is floating in the ocean. Right? And that ocean is water, the same as that ice, which is simply crystallized water. And you as an individual are crystallized out of the ocean of infinite potentiality, of universality, okay, of all that is and all that can be and all that can be imagined. You are, as an individual, are crystallized out of that potentiality, the same as this iceberg is crystallized water floating in a sea of water. So your connection to the infinite potentiality, that universe, is as simple to understand as this. There's your conscious mind, the white part sticking up, the subconscious or superconscious mind floating in the water, which is the universal sea of potentiality, and you are intimately connected to that. You may not notice it when you're focused on your conscious mind because all you see is the sky around you, right? The world around you. But hidden beneath that is the greater reality, which is that you are simply floating as a bit of individualized crystallization out of that sea of infinite potentiality. So here's the 5-minute exercise for you, right, to eliminate any limiting beliefs. Simply sit in stillness with your eyes closed and visualize yourself for 5 minutes as floating in that sea of infinite potentiality, where the greater part of you is immersed in the infinite. And the infinite, as we all know, is extremely capable of making things manifest. It has manifested the entire universe, and probably, according to our modern-day scientists, a multitude of universes that exist in parallel and or in other dimensions to this universe. So there is an incredible amount of power and creativity there that you are intimately connected to and is desirous of your success. Right? You create the ideal, you attach the passion, you go through the process which we described in quite some detail a couple of weeks ago on our seminar, and allow that infinite potentiality, that infinite power, that infinite creative expression to use you as the channel of its own urge to create and create success. So here's what, let me get a little bit more technical about this and maybe explain it a little bit more. You are the individualization of the universal, and as such are the channel through which the differentiation of pure potentiality of universal consciousness, through which you are the channel through which this potentiality flows into actuality, right, of any particular reality. And you can choose what that particular reality is by holding the ideal. It's really all about being in the flow. Right? Life is constantly an unfolding, an outflowing from this source of all power. And you need to see that you are the channel through which this energy passes. Right. Now, most of us in our daily lives are so programmed to believe otherwise and to behave otherwise that we often choose to ignore or resist this flow from the universal through the individual into manifest reality. But you can make another choice, and that is to relax and go with the flow and allow the universal to use you as a channel to make things manifest in the real world. Right? That's how painters get to paint, and Beethoven gets to, or got to, I should say, got to create his music, is he allowed himself to be a channel. Right? When I was a kid and listening to Beethoven and the other classical musicians that my parents had around for us to listen to as children, is I always imagined that Beethoven was capable of hearing the music that the sun was playing, and that's how he got inspired, is that he was translating sunlight into music, and that was, kind of a neat little trick to think of as a kid. But the reality is that people like Beethoven and John Lennon, for that matter, are simply allowing themselves to be the channel whereby the infinite can express itself in the actuality of creation. And because we are so blessed as human creatures to be conscious and be able to be aware of being conscious at the same time, we can make choices about what we think, what we feel, what we desire, what we believe, and what we hold as an ideal. And those choices enable us to be creative, okay, and to allow that great creativity that is part of this existence we have to flow through us. Okay, so you can choose to participate and actually contribute to the growth of universal consciousness by allowing yourself to be the channel for its own creativity. And you choose to become more and exercise your ability to be creative by making that simple choice to constantly move towards becoming more, to fulfilling your potential. Right? And in many ways you can become more by deciding to contribute more, by offering more of yourself, and specifically by starting to offer more of yourself to yourself. And you offer yourself more love, more compassion, more attention, more caring. You start really, really doing the things for yourself that you deserve to have, and you will find that you become more very quickly. And once you become more, then you can also share the more that you are with other people. And then when you begin that process, you even become more, and you end up having more in your life. And that's the whole attitude of service and the whole truth behind the statement. That is, if you only ever figure out how to create more value for other people, you will end up with more valuables yourself. All right? So be willing to give more to yourself first, and then be willing to give the more that you are to other people, and you will end up having more in your life. You need to understand, I think, and it's critical that I reaffirm, that all power and all things that are existent in the universe and all things that are not yet existent but only imagined exist within this global, universal, infinite consciousness. And everything is possible. Everything that can be thought of in your imagination is a real possibility. Right? And you make it into a probability by your belief in it. And you make it into a reality by your gratitude for already having it. That's how it works. So, time to move on to the next slide. Here's why what you know is your biggest liability. What you know is what is historical. The choices you've made in the past that have produced the results you have in the present, that's what you know. Right? And as a consequence, you expect that the future is going to be a continuation of what the past looked like. And that is simply an expectation. It comes true because you expect it to be true, but it is only an expectation, and it does not have to be true. In any given moment, you can change your mind. In each present moment, you can literally change your reality, and that's why we call this instant manifestation. Things are not necessarily going to show up in the next second simply because you decide to have them show up in the next second. So instant manifestation may be a little bit of a misnomer, but it is instant manifestation in the fact that in each present moment you are creating your reality by the choices you make about what to idealize, what you believe in, what you are thinking, what intentions you are bringing to all of the above, and your actions and words that you speak. and the intention you bring to what is going on in this present moment. So you are in this present moment creating your reality, and all you will ever have is this present moment. There never is a tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, because when tomorrow comes, it is just this present moment. So you need to live in this present moment, be grateful for this present moment, and what you are capable of envisioning, idealizing, and creating. Be grateful for already having it, and you have learned the secret that what you know is your biggest liability, because what you know is not true in this present moment. It was only true in the past. And what's true in this present moment is only what you decide to be true. Right? Whatever you decide to be true in this present moment is the truth. The historical stuff is gone, past. It's the illusion that was there, and it does not have to be the future anymore for you. So, next slide says why what you don't know yet and may never know is your best asset. Right? And what is that? Well, simply this. You don't know and may never know what the actual mechanism that universal intelligence uses to bring something into your life. Right? And in fact, you don't really want to know. It's not your job. Right? Manifestation is not your job. Creating the ideal is your job. Holding the vision is your job. Having the passion is your job. Having a plan to enact that, working towards enacting that plan, that's your job. But knowing how it shows up is not your job. Okay? And your decision, when you decide that you know how something's going to work, that only produces limitation. So your knowingness, your historical evidence that you have, is your limitation. What you need to do is learn to allow instead. Allow things to show up in your life. Allow for the fact that there are infinite potentialities out there, ways that you will never understand for things to show up in your life, for abundance to show up in your life, for wealth to show up in your life, for happiness to show up in your life. Ways that you will never understand will contribute to your well-being in every way, shape, or form. So instead of focusing on what, or focusing on how something will happen, focus instead on the what you want and the why you want it, and leave the how up to the universe. All right, what to do right now that will produce real-life results starting immediately. All right, and the reason I picked this picture of this satellite dish is, which happens to be sitting in Australia, by the way, in case you're wondering where it is. That satellite dish represents the energy that you're broadcasting, and it's sitting up there facing out into the universe, that satellite dish. And so are you. You are in every moment broadcasting energy. You're shining your light like the sun shines its light. But your light consists of your thoughts. Your light consists of your beliefs. Your light consists of your emotions. Your light consists of the things that you do. And that's what you're broadcasting. The words you speak, the thoughts you think, the feelings you feel, the beliefs you choose to hold, those are the messages that you're sending out to the universe. And the messages are being received, and the messages are being responded to, and the proof is exactly what you have in your life today. That's the proof that your messages are being responded to. So, one more time to reaffirm what the process is. Envision the reality that you desire with great passion to have. Be grateful for having it. Make your plans. Enact those plans to demonstrate your commitment to that ideal. And then simply allow and expect that that ideal will show up. Okay? In time. Perhaps even instantly. Now, and I, in the last 30 days, and growing increasingly more rapid in the last week, have personal proof about this. There are some enormously exciting things happening in my life right now that are quite frankly beyond the power of most people to believe. And that is just an amazing process that I'm going through right now, and I'm attracting and being attracted to some amazingly powerful people that are stepping up to the plate to support a project that I envisioned well over a year ago, and have been extremely grateful for having for the last year. And lo and behold, it's showing up in ways that are apparently miraculous. Right? So I'm very, very, very grateful for that, let me tell you. Thanks so much for being here. I hope that we get to see you all again soon. I'm going to turn this back to Bob again, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and participating and allowing me to share with you the things that I have come to understand from my studies and from my direct application and from the proof that's showing up in my life in so many ways, and right now in so many big ways that I am just astounded by the magic of it all and the beauty of it all. So thank you so much.